How's it going, everyone? Good morning. Welcome to Introduction to Python for our Global Hack Week April, focused on API. Python is a really powerful language for API usage and stuff. So yeah, we're going to be doing some pretty cool stuff. This is going to be a beginner-friendly. Workshop. Let me pause that so I can actually hear you guys. Hello, welcome to the stream. So actually, if you've done a Python introduction with me for a while, I've been refining it slowly. It's not fully there yet. I wish it was there for this stream, but we're still working on refinement. But yeah, hi. If you're an expert in Python, don't worry. We would love to have people in chat to help out, and also not to help out just our hackers, but also to even help me out if there's anything cool you can think of that I might miss. Hello, welcome to the stream. Let me cue back up some music so we're not sitting here and quiet. I don't know what time it is for everyone. If everyone's dropped their time zone where they're checking in from, that'd be pretty cool. I am from the East Coast, and it's pretty bright and early for a stream. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Let me cue this up a bit so there's some background music for you guys. I think this is a good beats per minute. And then as that's going, I am going to set some stuff up. But yeah, so if you haven't done a welcome or introduction to Python stream with me before, our general schedule overview, which it'll get hammered out in the future. But for today, actually, first of all, if you haven't checked in, please make sure to check in. That's how you get, how we keep up with attendance and how you get prizes or things, or swag, actually, I should say, shipped out to you. We don't do prizes, but swag. But yeah, so our schedule overview for the day looks kind of like we're going to set up a replit so you can get your hands dirty with some Python. We're going to get started with understanding what Python is as a language. Then we will dive into some of the data types in Python. And then we're going to go through some basic concepts in Python, that's prints using print statements, and how to do that in multiple ways. That's generally, if you ever learned a programming language, that's generally one of the first few things you do. We're going to talk about things that are important, such as variables and expressions. We're also going to talk about operations and maybe orders of operation, because that gets pretty important as you continue on writing Python. We will talk about some standards for coding, so you actually don't just write spaghetti code and you write some good code. Especially if you apply this skill with any team or any hackathon project, you want your whole team to be able to work with you. We're going to be talking about user inputs and casting. And then we will do a fun little activity or exercise to wrap up today's introduction to Python, focusing on printing and your introduction, your basics. And then if we have time, which we'll explore something called decision or control flow by doing something called decision structures. Following that with understanding of expressions. Yeah, and then diving into how operations work within Python. But I think that is the plan for today, and we'll see how far we get. If we get any further, I'll develop more. But yeah, this is still a work on refining my introduction to Python. This is a good start, though. So with that all being said, I want to make sure everyone can hear me in chat, correct? I can make sure that I'm not just talking to myself, and everyone can hear me in chat. Okay, cool. That's great. Okay, so first things first, we're going to get everyone a Replit count. Who here has a Replit account and who here doesn't, who have never heard of Replit? Thank you, both of you. If you haven't heard of Replit, that's perfectly fine. But here is Replit. Here's the website. If you don't have an account, go ahead and create an account, and I will share my screen in a second. And we're going to get this going. So a really quick introduction to what Replit is. I don't know if you ever used it in the past. So I've used Replit before the whole rebranding. But essentially what Replit is, I like to think of it as a sandbox It's an online, essentially integrated development environment, where it's also called IDE for developers, that allows users to be able to write, run, collaborate on code just in the web browser, and it extracts a lot of the setup for an actual development environment away from you, which is generally pretty beneficial and helpful. It is really good to use as a sandbox if you ever want to test something, or if you want to get started with a language, but you don't want to go through the whole entire overhead of setting something up. They support so many different languages, such as like Python, C++, Node.js, C, Java, Bash, Pygames, as in you can also work on languages with other libraries. And libraries are essentially just built-in extensions to a language and providing more functionality. You can think of it like that. So once you got a Replit account, I am going to share my screen. Select. We will share. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Yes. Throw that onto the screen. Okay, cool. Actually, give me 1 second. I'm gonna try something new. What does this look like? That's so interesting. I think I want to do like, let me see. So they pushed out something new. So there's a lot of new testing today, but essentially they pushed out some new features where I can actually customize what the stream looks like now, which is amazing because I think one of the biggest issues I had in the past was things getting cut off. So like it's not super visible, XYZ, or things like that, which I can now fix. I can manually customize what the stream kind of looks like. And during some portions, you guys really don't need to see my face. And the content matters so much more than my face. So I really enjoyed this new customization. Let's see, we're going to call it layout. Cool, and then we're going to try switching to that. Let me know if this is a bit better and you guys can see the screen a bit better. But yeah, so what you're looking at is how to create a Replit. So first things first, once you create an account, all you gotta do is hit create a Replit, and you can import from GitHub if you have a repository you want to work with. For us, we just want to create a blank Python template. So we're going to set template Python. We're going to call it Global Hack Week, April. We're going to call it API Week 2023. And then I'm going to hit create a Replit. And then it'll go ahead and set up an integrated development environment right in your web browser. Thank you, thank you. Yes, you can use whatever you want. Again, it's whatever sandbox you're comfortable with. I just like to use Replit because it was a lot smaller back when I was using it in the beginning, but you can use whatever you want. You didn't miss much yet. We're just getting started. So I'm going to be using Replit as my sandbox or as my integrated development environment online to help teach Python. You can use whatever you want. If you have a local setup, you can use that. I went over some of what we're gonna plan on doing today, so it's a lot of introductory material. If you're a veteran or a pro, feel free to stick around to share any tips or tricks. Hello, what's going on? But yeah, so first thing first, we're gonna explore today is who am I actually? I should probably have done that. So if you don't know, I am Kev. I am a coach here at Majorly Hacking. I use the he, him, his pronouns, and I do a lot of different things. So I'm open to generally be talking to you about anything. I do a lot of different things in computer science as well. But today we're going to be exploring Python. So with that being said, what is Python? So Python is an interpreted language. So if you don't know, in computer science, there's generally two types of languages. You have languages known as interpreted languages, and you have languages known as compiled languages. There's other things that kind of is not in between, but you can use language for other things. So there's also something called a scripting language, but we won't get really into that. All we have to really matter here between the two major development type of languages are interpreted language and compiled language. So what is an interpreted language? Interpreted language is a language like Python or JavaScript or any other interpreted language out there, or essentially what happened is as the code is getting processed, it is translated line by line to something your computer understand. This is a reason for some of the unique aspects. Free, sorry. I read this comment. I'm just curious. What is this referring to? Is it the music? Because I would love to know what this is referring to. Or if you're talking about Replit, I have no clue. That's a great. I'd love to know what that's referring to. But going back to what I'm saying is then what the opposite to that, you have something called compiled language. What is a compiled language? Compiled language are languages such as C, C++, Java, and many others. And how they work is your code is fully translated into a language a computer can understand before it's ever even ran. So for interpreted language, your code will be ran line by line, and each line will get translated line by line to a language computer understand, and then it gets executed. Compared to a compiled language, where they will translate your whole code fully into a language a computer understand before running or interacting with the program. Oh, I should know that. It's okay. I'll add that fact to the refined Python slides. So there you go. Thank you. You just contributed to the refined Python slide. Hey, 404. Maybe we'll do a history in Python next time as well. But it's also a really beginner-friendly language because it could be a pro and a con. It is half like a Wild West where a lot more things will fly in Python than in other languages. So next things we're going to go over, I'm actually going to start typing, is what is Python? Oh, first things first, if you ever are trying to write comments or even blocks of comments in Python, what you would use is either a pound sign or 3 tilde looking thing and 3 other tilde looking thing. Oh, I meant quotes. Oops. This is not Discord. Use quotes, 3 quotes encapsulated by 3 quotes. Whatever is in between will be done as a comment. So I'm going to do a quick block of comment because I'm going to do a bit of talking. So what is Python? Question mark. So it is a beginner friendly interpreted. No, you will see me type spelling horribly. It's part of me being computer science or doing anything in computer science or coding. Can't spell, but there we go. Python. What is Python? Python is a beginning-friendly interpreter language. Next things up, we're going to explore data types in Python. So the few data types we have in Python is what we like to call generally numbers. And numbers we have a few different versions of numbers or data types that represent numbers, right? So you have something called integers or just int. And these are essentially your whole numbers that expands into, I forgot, I think, so it's your whole numbers such as negative numbers like -1. I'm going to do this. ... right? So it's continuation. So you have things like -1. You have positive numbers. You have zeros. So any complete whole number that is an integer, where integer is its own class domain, its own number domain. But essentially, the thing is, any whole number that is not a decimal or is just in the domain of integers, such as negative numbers, zeros, or positive numbers. Then you have the next class that we have in Python, or data type. We call them floats. So what a float is essentially it is everything we just talked about integers, but not whole numbers. So this includes all your numbers that contains decimals. So for example, this will include I think all the real numbers, I should say it. So all real numbers, if I'm not wrong. If I am wrong, anyone's better at math than I am, feel free to correct me. So for example, you can have things such as negative number with decimals. You can have things such as just negative numbers. You can have things as 0. You can have things as decimals in the positive direction. And you can have full-on, Reset to mine's definitely newer, and then you can have full-on positive numbers. So integers are essentially whole numbers, where it can be either negative whole numbers, zeros, or positive whole numbers. And again, I would consider if this just be an integer domain. You have floats, which are in the real number domain, which has negative numbers, negative decimals, positive decimals, 0, and positive numbers. What is everyone's favorite Python IDE? I want to hear chat first. I do have the correct answer. I'm just kidding. But please do feel free to answer that question, and we'll figure out what. This just hurts. By the way, whoever just says VS Code, okay, that's crazy. But yeah. So for everyone else, let's continue. So the next thing we're going to explore is called complex number. I'm not going to go into too depth in this. You can just know it exists. This is another type of number data type in Python. I'm just going to skip that because we rarely use that. Next thing we want to explore is something called, well, actually, let's do some examples before I keep typing. So for example, to declare a variable, I mean, that is super true. That's why the best IDE is just using Vim. or I can accept Nano too, just not Emacs. IntelliJ is the same thing as PyCharm. It's pretty bloated, but I think with a proper computer, it is where the whole JetBrains family is my preferred IDE. I do agree with Visual Studio Code is a lot more system friendly. Visual Studio Code works is a complete IDE, but there is, I forgot what it's called. I don't think it's called Visual Studio Code, but there is a version of it that acts more as just essentially a text editor. He's a creator of Python. He can create his personal website in HTML. It doesn't matter that much. It's okay. Just use Vim. Vim is great. They want to make us do it in college. That's hilarious. Spider and Jupyter, that's pretty cool. So, I mean, Spider is the IDE, so you technically don't need to pick up anything new. Maybe sorry for the introduction, everyone. I'm just keeping up with chat and seeing what's new out here. Wait, you can't use Visual Studio Code? Question mark. I agree with that statement. Because it's made for. You can use Visual Studio Code. Well, you get it for free, and there's some stuff that is built in that's pretty good that is in the free version of thing. Just made me storm out of the room. Yeah, some of the other IDs aren't great. Sorry, I'm gonna start continuing. But hey, if you come to the workshop on Vim, I will be attempting to teach Vim to everyone, which is technically the best IDE. You can make it an IDE. I will not be teaching plugins in Vim, but you could definitely show up and learn some of your basic Vim stuff. I think next Monday. But I will continue for everyone here who's just here for actual Python. So to declare a variable in Python, what we use is you just write out the name of the variables. So name, and then you use the equal sign, and then you set the variable to its value. So, oops, that was not meant. So for example, if I want to make a number, I want this to be representative number underscore of watchers. In our case, let's say this is, oops, what am I doing? Just writing different things. In our case, currently there's 35 concurrent watchers. It's 35. So if I do type, type is a built-in function that allows you to get the type of a variable or of just any data. So if I do type and if I run this, you will see that it will tell you the type of number of watchers. If this works, which I'm really hoping it does. Oh, I forgot. I didn't print it out. We'll go over this thing a bit. I'm going to just type this out now so you guys can see this happen in console. And but don't worry about what I just did right there. We'll go over printing. You can see that it tells you the class of this type is integers, right? If let's say I count myself as half a viewer, because I don't know, I'm bored and I want to count myself half a viewer, I can also hit play, and now it says it's a float. That looks so weird. I don't think that's meant to look like that. But we're going to turn this back into an integer, and then let's continue. So we just explored example. So actually, I'm going to make a new example. So for our float example, let's call it number of messages in chat. So I'm using ridiculously long variables name. Normally you can abbreviate some stuff and shorten this out a bit, but I'm gonna drop it to let's say 10.7. I know that's not realistically. Hopefully your messages are not only in not complete messages. So this, oops, there we go. What? I don't know what just happened there. There we go. Okay, that's weird. The ID is being a bit weird. If anyone has any questions, feel free to stop me and we'll continue to answer questions. I agree. I'm not a big fan of Conda. I just use the built-in pip or pip environment and then just go from there. Yes, I do agree. Python is still my favorite integrated development environment. But yeah, so this is a few examples of number and as a data type in Python. Next thing we're going to explore is Boolean. So Boolean is a pretty simple concept. If you come from any other programming language, you will understand it as essentially just the values of true or false, right? So it is essentially true or false. So this is what we can use them as for things such as flags. But essentially, for example, Kev is streaming, right? The value of that is just true. Well, use capital T. Oopsie daisies. There you go. So Kev is streaming set to true. You use this as flags, gatekeeps, or etc. And for example, I'm going to pick on 404 here. But first things first, 404 is great to pick on because in Python, a variable name cannot start with a number. It has to start with an alphabetical character. And the rest of the variables can only be made up with alphanumeric symbols, plus a few special characters such as like underscore. So I can't use 404, but I can do hacker named 404 is present, P-R-E-S-E-N-T. I can't spell, so if I ever say anything wrong, please don't mind me. And that is fully allowed. Following that, we have something as strings, and strings just look like this. Strings. So for example, Python, oops, I should lowercase that, Python Pro Web. I'm gonna do this, Python Pro website is not what's in chat. I just read it fully. And then we have other things such as lists and dictionaries, which we won't get into here, but they're essentially, list is a type of data type as well in dictionary. So dictionary in other languages is like a map, and list in other languages is just an array. This is just for people who come from another programming language and are just learning Python right now, but that's that. Cool. So now we all know a few of our data types in Python. We have numbers that are floats, floats and integers, more complex numbers. We have Boolean, which are your true and false value. We have strings, which is essentially just a string. It's like a sentence. And then you have lists and dictionaries, which is in another language, a list is an array, and a dictionary is a map. Yeah, I said that for. Thank you. Google Colab is works a lot, but yeah. So now we have that taken care of. Let's take a look at some pretty cool stuff. Like in every programming language, the first thing we always learn is print statements. So we're gonna first explore the Python built-in. So Python has a built-in function that allows you to print directly to the stream, or called std out or standard out. It is the output stream, and that is what is generally displayed into your console, and that's what you're, as a developer, you usually interact with. So in other languages, if you ever learn them or come from another language, Python's print statement is the same thing as, let's say, cout in C++, printf in C, or like system.out.println in Java. So what this looks like in Python, I'm going to do print statements. It's just using the function called print and then passing in, I'm going to do another quote, passing in what you want to print, right? So an example of this, I can do a print statement, and we can use the data types we kind of explored above here. So let's say I'm going to use strings. So I can print this is a string. I could then write another print statement, and let's say strings printing string needs to be in quotes. If I hit play, you'll see that it will print out the two data type I have print above. I use the printing method to get the type return, what returns from the function type, to print into std out, which is this. A standard out is just what the console is interacting with the actual user. And I wrote actual to printing for strings. I printed out the string saying this is a string, and also printing out strings need to be in quotes. And a really common milestone for any programming language is learning how to print hello world. So I'm going to throw that in there. There we go. I'm going to hit print for everyone. And then you can see now we have all these sentences printed out. You can not only print strings, but as you saw above, I printed this type return from above. You can also print other things like our other data types, such as integers. So for example, I can print 18. I can print floats, such as like 3.2, 3.4, 3.9. I can also print negative numbers if I so choose, right? Like negative $100, and this is how much money everyone in chat owes me. Okay, so thank you for answering and helping answer our questions, chat. But yes, player 57, Python does not need, oh, I should add that. Thank you for reminding me. So history and things. So long story short, Python does not need a semicolon or a colon at the end of each sentence, because Python is a syntax-based language, which essentially means formatting is really important. So if you know in other languages, such as like that's compiled like C++ or C, you can do code golf, where you can really condense you can write your whole entire program in one line, because of how it's not a syntax-based language, and it looks for things such as like brackets, parentheses, and like semicolons to determine what the actual structure of the file is. Python is a syntax-based language, so what it uses is what you type, and using tab to determine things. So occasionally you can use other things for formatting, but that doesn't really matter. So it uses a number of tabs to determine how nested each part of your program is. But yes, and long story short, you don't need semicolon, and we'll show you a bit of how it works later. What is the main difference I've noticed when I integrate from JS to Python? So yes, Python does have escape characters. We'll actually be going to them in a bit after we talk a bit about printing. Yes, you can use brackets, but you don't have to worry about brackets and in Python. You can use them for your own like formatting and visualizing if you're coming from a different language, but it's definitely not a must or a need. See, if you haven't realized, you guys, chat is on this screen. So if I ever look over here, I'm just looking at chat. If I'm ever looking over here, I'm just doing you guys. You're trolling, right? For there's no way you're gonna fight with me. Everyone should stay here for the workshop, and then you can join them later. Yeah, well, when we get there, you will see some major differences, but essentially the huge difference between, where is that comment? Between JavaScript and Python is just what they're really useful, right? So JavaScript is a lot more lighter of a language. Python is a really high high-level language and it has a lot more usage. You can use Python in, let's say, data science. You can use Python in machine learning and AI. You can use Python in scripting. It's just a really powerful and more versatile language, while JavaScript is a lot more used in, let's say, web development or application development. But yeah, live stream should still be going. If something's broken, thank you guys in chat who are helping with that. But yeah, so I'm going to take these tabs back. As you can see, they stood there. So I'm also going to print a few other things, such as you can print out your booleans, which your booleans include true. Your booleans also include false. False. And if I'm going to hit print for you, if I'm going to hit run for you, you can see we're going to get this huge chunk of text, right? So we printed out a string. With its strings are need to be in quote. We print out hello world as a milestone in every programming language. We printed out integers, floats, negative integers, or just regular integers, but just showing you can print negative numbers. We print out true and we print out false, which are Boolean types. We're now going to explore. So this is we're just printing one thing at a time, and that could be fun. That could be exciting. But sometimes we might want to print out multiple things and huge amounts of things. For example, maybe I want to print out strings with other strings, right? So this is a lot more common when, let's say, I store strings in a variable. But I'm going to show you what this looks like first, and before I abstract it into a variable. So for example, this is half the sentence. And then if I do something, a plus is called concatenation. You can only use pluses with strings. So it's called string concatenation. It allows you to join together two strings and utilize them as one. So essentially, join string only on strings and acts like a join. And then this is half the sentence, for example, and I'm going to write, quote, this is the second half of, I can't spell the sentence. Live typing is even worse. S-E-N-T sentence. There we go. So if I print this, you can see instead of above where each string print out on its own, they concatenation join together these two strings, and I get something. I get one string that has them together. I'm actually going to put a space here. In concatenation, they don't add in your actual spaces for you, so you would have to put in your actual spaces, white spaces yourself. So I'm going to hit run now again. You can see now this prints. I think this is a highlight. I'm going to run it again. So you can see now it says this is half the sentence, and there's a space. If I really want, I can add a period. If I want to be like grammatically correct, I'm going to add some periods there. I'm going to hit run again. And you will get, this is half a sentence. This is a second half of the sentence. Glad you're back. Hello, welcome. I haven't seen you guys in a while. Already going for mem stack. Is there any way Django is better for backend? I mean, using the Django framework, you're still writing our backend in Python. It is, and on top of that, I think frameworks are just easier for you to quickly spun something up. Not most of the time, it's not about better. It's more about what suits your need. I don't think there's one great framework that is just the best, where else everyone would be on one, right? It's more so about each framework or each tool or thing you choose to use, library, etc., might be better for a specific need or fit pros and cons for certain categories. So once you define your project requirement or your architecture, then choosing what tools or frameworks or libraries best suit you is more the question than if it's better or not. But yeah, going back to our little string, I want to showcase this is equivalent if I, let's say, abstract this into variables, right? So for example, string. Also, naming conventions in Python, you're not allowed to use, well, you should avoid using common keywords in Python that's already reserved, right? So I should not name something, let's say print, right? A variable name, I should not use it. I should not use print. But if I want to use print, I can do print, let's say, print always, or always print, and then set it to something, etc. But I would say do not, would never you try to replace a keyword as a variable, it's just you won't have a great time because it's pretty confusing. Yeah, so I'm going to first write string, let's say _1. I should avoid numbers. I'm going to do 1. I'm going to say test in 1 periods. And then I'm going to do string 2 is equal, let's say testing 2. So I'm going to add a space here so you can see that. And then if I can do string 3. And then I'm going to do space testing 3 period. Oops. And so now if I write this print statement, I would just use my variables instead and do the same type of a concatenation, because concatenation work on strings, and all these variable types are of string. So I can just do this. And then just to make sure I understand what's going on under the hood, all Python is doing is saying print, it sees this variable name and it goes, oh, this variable is equivalent to this. So let me replace this variable with this. Let me replace string 2 variable with testing 2. Let me replace string 3 variable with testing 3. And because the data type of these are strings, we can use string concatenation. So I run this now. You can see even though I did not type the string within the print statement itself, it still did the same exact thing based off how Python works under the hood. There you go. That's a great explanation. But yeah, so I mentioned this is string concatenation, right? And we know that string is a type of data type. That means when you try to do things such as this, string, this is the number of viewers in chat. And I'm going to say I want to concatenate that with, let's say, currently there's 35 viewers still. If I do this, you will see Python is really great because it throws in pretty detailed errors. So you should generally figure out what's going on, right? It says traceback, file main.py in line 45. It says type error, can only concatenate strings and not integers, right? Because this is an integer. And with integers, we cannot concatenate a string because this plus symbol is called string concatenation. So to fix that, all you got to do is to convert this into a string, and you just put quotes around it. It just treats it like a string, and now this will work. But there's also another way of doing so. If you want to use print, but mix up all your different data types, you can write print. And what we use is something called commas. And commas will allow you to print multiple things of different data types together as long as they're separated, right? So first thing, let's say I'm going to put a string, right? You can, good for you. I'm not introducing typecasting yet. Is the only reason why I did not do that. You could do that. That's definitely correct. So I'm not going to try to read your Twitch name. It's just not, we just haven't introduced it yet. But what they're doing is something called typecasting, or discover later. But you could typecast it like that. 404, hello? Are you okay? Are you awake today? I'm just kidding. But yeah. What we're saying is, so I can write the same thing sentence above with something called commas, and comma allows you to mix and match different data types in Python. So let's say the number of viewers is comma. Then I can type 35. I can use comma again. I'm going to add in chat. This does not make sense as a sentence, but it's no need to make sense. All we're doing is demonstration's sake. So if I run that, you can see, even though I put in this time an integer data type and mix in with a string print statement, this works because this operation is called string concatenation. It only works on strings. And print itself is built in commas. And the point of this is so you can mix and match different data types while you print. And another example, I can, let's say, for example, this is going to be a whack print statement, but let's say I want to print, let's print stuff. So that's my string where I can use a comma. And then let's say I want to throw in a number. So I'm going to do 12. I'm going to throw in a Boolean. Let's say I'm going to do a 43.1. I'm going to throw in some, floats and integers. And I'm going to throw in some Booleans. And then if I hit enter, you can see, even though I just mixed in so many data types, the print statement still works functional because the print statement is allowed to print multiple data types, but you would use commas to separate them, so they know how to do that. But we can also do typecasting, which I will introduce now. For example, if I want to use string concatenation with an integer, so if string concat with int, I would do something called typecasting. I love typecasting. It sounds like a magic trick. Typecasting. I feel bad for it's okay. I just like using f strings more. F strings are better, or it's just formatted strings and you use them in print. We'll export that later down the line. But for beginners, we generally learn print. But there is 3 types of way of printing in Python. Maybe I will need. Maybe I'll next workshop I will do is write the intro to Python structure with chat, and that way you guys can just throw cool things like this at me. But I just show you how you can do regular print. There's 2 other type of print which you can always do later by yourself, and we call them f strings. And then I forgot what the other one is called. It's similar to f string. Does anyone know? So you have f string, which is format of strings, and then there is another type of printing in Python. We have your regular print. You have f strings, and then we're also called formatted strings. And there is one more way you can print in Python. I forgot what that one's called. It's really similar to f string. F string is the improvement of the other method. I just don't remember what we call it. Maybe it's also called formatted strings. Maybe there's just 2 ways to format strings. Yeah, it definitely is. But we'll explore that some other time. I love the Python pros that we have in chat. But yeah, so next, for everyone was waiting for, you have your escape sequences. And here are just some few examples. I have this typed out somewhere else. So I'm going to paste this in. Hopefully this works. And if it doesn't, oh well. So I'm going to first use 3 quotes and then, nest this in between my 3 quotes. Well, it kind of worked. It kind of worked. So so this is called the backslash, and what this will print out will be a backslash. This is so first row. I can just do this. This is what you type. So I'll just explain it. Let me fix this. So if people don't know what I am typing out right now, this is what we call escape sequences, right? So what is an escape sequence is that essentially any computer language, they might not know how to handle certain stuff because it might be common in strings, right? So for example, if I am typing something and I do quotes, the IDE might think, oh, I'm going to start a new string. But if I want quotes within my string, we have to use something called escape sequences to essentially tell the computer how to handle some specific thing that have other functionality. Wait, are we all looking for the format method? I think so. I have to double check. No, those are just regular quotes, single quotes. So you can use double quotes to single quotes. I just like it looking like single quote looks better. It's a bad thing. I use Discord a lot, and if you don't know, in Discord, you can use like I forgot what it's called. They're not ticks. You can use not is it apostrophe? It's not. It's backtick. Whatever. You can use like there's a word for it, but tick 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 and type code. So I don't know. It's just really bad habit. But yeah. So I should get this going. Next time, I promise you, if you come out to the next Python introduction to Python, which you definitely should, I will have refined this to an utmost degree, and we will not be in pain. But today, we are pseudo in pain. I prepped a lot of this stuff. It's just unfortunate that there's still more prepping to work. So. Okay, so real quick, this is what you would type. So this is called escape. Yes, escape sequences, and this essentially allows you to process certain values that might be processed differently by the interpreter. So double slash backslash will allow you to have a regular backslash within, let's say, a string, right? So for example, if I do print testing string, I have to do 1 backslash in there, right? If I run this, you'll see that testing string that's a bad example. Let me do quotes. So if you do, okay, I should not have used backslash. Backslash, I would need multiple backslashes. It's more to escape if I have multiple usage. But for example, if I do this, if I run this, right, I want, let's say, a quote. I want to quote the word strings within strings. Hello. There we go. So if let's say I want to quote the word string, so testing quote string, it'll tell me this is not valid syntax. Did you forget a comma or something? Because I'm trying to use this as an actual quotes within the string. You would use the escape sequence. So I'm telling Python, so treat this one as a regular string, write out testing, and I want to treat this quote as a printable character string and not necessarily starting a new string. And then I would do the same thing here. And then if I do run now, I escape Python understanding that this is starting a new string, and I can get testing, I can get quotes in my string. That's a better example. Yes, they're identical to any programming languages. Your escape sequences are pretty much generally almost identical. There might be ones that are unique, but I don't think there is generally. And then you can apply that to any of the other concept, right? So let's say if I want a tab, right, I can do /t, and now I get a tab. If I run that, this adds a tab into your thing. You can see that there's huge space. If I want a new line, I can do /n/t. So now it generates a new line, or puts things in a new line, and it tabs it. What did you write after at the end of the Unicode line? Oh, so essentially you can also provide Unicode characters, right? This is just a Unicode character 2184. So for example, if I want to print out Unicode characters, I can use escape sequence, tell it's Unicode, and then I don't know what this Unicode is, but I just put in one. If I print, and if this console works properly, wait, why did that not oh, it's 4. Oops, I missed the number. So you just provide the Unicode, and it will grab whatever that Unicode is. Happen to be a character of a language, it looks like, and it would just print it out. It's just really cool if you're building, let's say, a command line based game, right? You can use like hearts and spades and stuff. Card games are pretty cool. Yeah, for sure. So maybe we'll build a card game for the next Global Hack Week, which I don't think I'm leaking anything, and I'm pretty sure it's on the Global Hack Week website. I'm so positive. We do tell you where our next one is. And I think we do have a gaming one coming up. Went over variable expression. We went over some of the escape sequences. I'm going to go over some coding standards pretty quick. So common coding standards, for example, variable names. Oops, I should do another pound. So they should always start with an alpha character, char. They can only use alpha numeric chars plus a few special chars, such as underscore. I think that might be the only one, actually, at least that I generally recommend people using. So this takes out they can't start with numbers, as we saw with the 404 example, and they can't start with anything else. They have to start with alphanumeric characters. And we generally, here's a convention in Python. So if you don't know, there's two types of variable naming convention. You have something called snake case, and then you have something called camel case. Oh, I don't know if it's called camel, but I think that's it. So snake case will look like a snake, for example. Example 1, right? You use what you do is you replace any spaces with underscore, and you always use lowercase starting things. Camel case, instead you would not use underscore. You will just use uppercase to represent a new space break, for example. Example 1 in camel case. Example 1 would look like this. So instead of using instead of replacing spaces with underscores, all I do is I capitalize the next word that represents the next thing. Yeah. Anyone have a preference? Who prefers camel case? I like both. I'm not gonna lie to you. I just generally follow whatever convention is for that specific language. Real quick thing, some things about expressions. So one important thing to always do is assignment. Assignment operation is what is when you actually assign a var to a value to a var. So assignments like value to var. So var stands for variable, and they read generally from. They take whatever's on the right hand side and put it into the left hand side. So all this is saying is, I should change that to like this. It's the error, right? It takes everything that you write on the right hand side and then stores it into whatever's in the left hand side. I definitely can't spell. There we go. So for example, we kind of did some of this already. So like testing 1 is equal to 35, right? It takes 35 and then it stores it into the variable testing 1. It takes whatever's on the right hand side, stores it into what's in the left hand side. I don't know. Does anyone know that in chat? That's beyond my knowledge. So now we have learned strings, data type, a lot of cool things. Now let's put them to use, right? What's the point of knowing all this if we don't apply it? So we're going to learn, well, the first thing of interactiveness is called user input. So for example, Python has something uniquely built in. It's a function called input. And what this does is it takes a prompt, which it will print out for you. And then whatever it will prompt the user, essentially input will type out this prompt for you by prompting the user, and the user gets to respond in the console. And then that will get read in, and you would generally get returned by this function. When it will get returned by this function. So for example, how we would use this is if I do input, how many viewers are in chat right now? Question mark. If I run this now, you will see that now the console will have input, and this is waiting for me to type. If I type and hit enter, it will terminate. So for some formatting niceness, what I like to do generally is, let's say, do a new line, right? So it's like, oops, I meant after the quotes. So we learned about this escape character, \n is new line. And then if I run this, you can see that now my prompt is on the new line. I can say there is currently 27 concurrent viewers. Hit enter, that gets read in, right? But this is going nowhere. Input is returning this. So if let's say I do something like this, where I say print the input, so it will grab it from the user first and print it out. So for example, if I run this, I do, let's say 35. Again, it's not 35. You can see it grabbed it, and then it took whatever input returned. Input will return 35, and then printed 35. But that's not really useful, right? But generally, when we do something like this, we probably want to understand something from the user and maybe use it later. That's why you would use input with generally a variable. So for example, number of viewers. And then I would set that to that. What this allows is it'll take the input and whatever the user provides it, store into number of viewers. And then later I can do other things with it, right? So for example, let's say I want to calculate something called view percentage. And that happened to be just the formula number of viewers times 100. This is just making things up. But let's say number of viewers times 100 divided by 7. I'm just making this up. And then I can print out view percentage. I hit run. You'll see what happens here is that it took number of viewers, it stored it. So if I'd say 20, and then, oops, what did I do wrong? This is a perfect example. So it says, oh, there we go. This is something I meant to talk about. What happens is input always brings it in as a string. So we introduce the concept of typecasting, which you can typecast this in other things, right? So for example, I want this as an integer. I want this as a whole number. So what now this does is it asks what the user gives. The user will give, let's say, a number. And if it's a number, it'll typecast it into what we need, because I want to do math with it. I want to do it in integer realm. When integer domain, I'm going to grab int. I'm going to hit run now. So now if I give it a number, let's say 20, this will then be pulled into here. I can use it later, store it in my code, and so on and so forth. Let's see it in chat. Oh, I have not seen this. Is this done in a different language? I agree, Zelfoster. That's pretty cool. How do you? I can't. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm thinking of how this is pronounced properly, or if I'm just like tripping. You knew about snake, camel, and what is it? Pascal? It was that. I can't pronounce that. That's pretty cool though. That's a pretty cool thing. Okay, cool. So now we know how to take some input from the user, right? We can now build in a whole entire nice thing. So our goal is I am going to, let's say, put together a few of the things we learned. So I'm going to ask the user for a few things. So first things first, let's say we're going to collect information from the user that so we can enroll them like a new student. So maybe what we want to collect is, let's create our variable names real quick, right? So let's say we want f name, which stands for first name, right? And then I'm going to do input quotes, what is your first name, question mark, /n, new line. Then let's say when you do name equals input quotes, what is your last name, /n. And then let's say age equals int. We're going to cast into integer because age should be a number input. And then we're going to do this again. To quote, what is your age, question mark, new line character. And let's say let's say fave class. I'm using snake case here. That's the one that's generally conventional in Python. And then I'm going to do input string, what is your favorite class, question mark, new line. And then what we're going to do is we're going to collect all this information from the user, and then we're going to write a nice sentence back to the user. You're funny, Zelfoster. So here, let's say I'm going to print a nice final statement after we collect all that. That goes like meet. I'm going to do quotes. I'm going to say meet. And then I'm going to use comma. Well, I can use concatenation, but we're going to use comma so we can use multiple different data types in this print statement. So meet f name followed by L name. Then I'm going to do a quote, who is, I'm going to use a comma, and then I'm going to do age, right? I can use age here without typecasting it back to a string because I'm using commas. That, and then I'm going to back into quotes, that enjoy, and then I'm going to do comma, and then I'm going to end that with comma class, period. So you can see, first things first, I've collected a few different inputs from the user. After that, I wrote a nice print statement of all these variables. I will show you f-string in a bit. We're going to leave that be for now. Hey, welcome to the string. We're wrapping up our introduction to Python workshop. So here, and then if I hit run, I see the first thing it'll ask, oh, this is from the thing above. I'm actually just going to comment that out, and I'm going to hit run again. So the first question asks, what is your first name? We're going to take someone from chat. Who wants to be my volunteer for the day? Congratulations. Okay, go ahead. You want to provide me whatever first name you want, whatever last name you want, or whatever age you want, and whatever your favorite class is. Does not have to be real, but anything you can like. Yes, Ghostwriter is AI is making every work. Ghostwriter is Replit's equivalent of Copilot or AI writing. Okay, So we're gonna do first name is Uma. I'm gonna hit enter. Last name. Oh, I typed that wrong, but don't mind me. It's okay. Age, we're gonna do 19, and then your favorite class. Favorite class. Math is your favorite class. Interesting topic, and you can see if this was typed right, we just wrote an introductory statement for one of our amazing hackers who's here today. Meet. Enter name first, last. Who is 19 that enjoy math class? I don't want to butcher your name, so but that's okay. So that is a lot already to cover in an hour. Is there any questions? If not, and people are up for it, we will move mostly into operations and then maybe into conditional statements for symbol destruction. Which view reload player? That's funny. Any questions from the chat? Ask me any question or ask me in chat. Congratulations. Oh, the key behind the comment, a block of code, I should have explained, is just control question mark, where, yeah, control question mark, or if you want to call it backward slash, to just do a backward slash, but it's just control question mark. Look at that. It's like dark magic. Congratulations. You're famous. Next time when we do like a mini game or something, we'll get you on stream, and you can show or present something we're talking. 4-4's been on stream a few times. But yeah, any questions from chat about anything we've gone over? If not, I think I will hang around for a bit, take any question. Could be anything in general as well. And then we're probably going to conclude this workshop on Python. I do want to build out this workshop into maybe a 3-parter or 4-parter, and then we can dive pretty deep into Python, turning like essentially teaching you how to get started with a whole computing language. I hate that I only generally I do these as a solo, and doing these as solo generally means I can't go too deep. I want to make sure everyone's caught up, and then if there's any questions, then we can actually handle them, and so on and so forth. No question. Everyone's a Python pro here. Well, then we're gonna play a fun game called. Since everyone here is considering himself a Python pro, can Python Dawn file manipulation? What? Are you saying can Python do file manipulation? Question mark? Question mark? Zellfoster, what's your question? Can you expand on your question, and then we'll break into it. Yeah, for sure. Python is a really powerful language. No, everyone's a pro now. You've gone so far. Everyone's a programmer the second you write your first line of code. I honestly don't know how I really feel about that, but that is generally what people say. But yes, Python is really powerful. I script in Python sometimes. So essentially, I also teach Introduction to Computer Science at a university, or I pseudo teach it. I'm the teaching assistant for it, the head teaching assistant for it, and because of that, I do a lot of scripting to make sure the course run, and we generally script in Python. It's kind of like Bash tool. So Python has a lot of library. The main one is being OS, and as long as a lot of other ones that allows you to write really in-depth script in Python. So Python is interpreter language. It's also pretty commonly used as a scripting language. But yeah, any other questions? If not, we determined. Let's take a vote. I want everyone to put in chat their favorite IDE, if they have one. I want to see what is chat's favorite IDE. It seemed like VS Code was it, but I wanted to throw that in. Oh, why is Python slow? Okay, this is Python is slow because Python is a really high level language. Essentially, what that means is, if you don't know, languages are built into low level and like high level, and it's just basically the level of abstraction you have. And Python is really, really high level in terms of that. Python is written. I want to double check this before I say this. I am so sure, but I do want to double check my answer. So Python is a high level language that automatically does dynamically typing, which costs a lot of efficiency. It does garbage collection. It costs a lot of that. It is a general purpose program language, which means there's a lot of cost there. And Python, I want to double check why it's not telling me. Let's see. I'm checking. Give me like 1 second. It's on the in chat. You can drop it too. I'm just double checking before I say something. Oh, I should know this on top of my head. Oh, okay. So there are flavors of Python written in like C and etc. But essentially, what Python is, it's a high overall language. So lower level language, you have to do a lot of things handle yourself, right? So you can think of the lowest level language as machine code, which is like what the computer reads. So it's a lot of like ones and zeros and like operation code. So like that's like lowest level, right? Then above that, you have to call assembly language, which is already pretty bad. Which you kind of have to do everything yourself, right? You have to move things to register. You essentially have to control each component. And then above that, you have something called more lower level languages, such as like C. Then above C, you have like language like C++, which can abstract some of the functionalities away. And then above that, you have things like Java, which can abstract even more functionality away, right? So for example, in C++, you at least do garbage disposal, but in Java, you don't. They take care of that. Python is even a higher language that like takes care of garbage disposal, dynamically variables, and so much so forth. And there's just a lot of bloat there, and it's what slows Python down. It is also interpreted. Well, no, that is not true. Interpreted languages in compiled this is not what makes it slower or faster. It does have an inkling effect there, but it's mainly because Python is built in with a lot more bloat. So that's why it's slow. It's because it already does a lot of layer of abstraction for you that you don't have to take care of it, and that takes time, and it does it for everything, right? It's not like, oh, it's only on during a certain time. It's always on, so it affects a lot. If you write your program language in something a more lower level language like C, it's generally most likely faster. But because it's super abstracted out, it also allows it to be using a lot more use cases, such as like machine learning, AI, algorithm. But like most of the time, how I do is if you're running into issue with something super slow in Python, it's taking super long to run. You would, let's say, maybe draft in Python and just writing a different program language like a C++ program, a Java program is still better than a Python generally in efficiency and fastness, or even like write it in C, like lowest if you can. So it means the more low level the language, the faster it can talk to the machine, and therefore it's more fast. Yes, because there's less layer of abstraction that has been implemented. So I see. It really needs to pass through a lot of layer system architecture, kind of like that. Yes, it's passing through many layers of already done things for processing, and that there's cost to that. For example, Java does garbage disposal for you. You don't have to do memory management either. In C, you have to do your own memory management. So in C++ as well, right? So like there's different level of abstraction, and some things can work closely more with our the actual machine code, where as it closer it gets to machine code or assembly, the faster it is. Yes, because there's a abstraction. Generally, higher level languages are easier to learn. The level of abstraction is there, so there's less for you. There's less things that you need to be aware of, and they're a lot easier to use. Java is not super low. Java is like a middle tier language in terms of like low or high level language, because it does abstract out garbage disposal, which is great for a beginner. Java is definitely pretty there. Well, doesn't Python do memory dynamic unlike C? Oh, well, yeah, there's cost there, right? That does cost speed, right? So Python does do memory management for you, but that costs, right? Because like you don't get to control everything. Python always does a set XYZ step. and so on and so forth. So like any abstraction, there's costs like garbage disposal, memory management. That includes like creating things dynamically, removing things dynamically. Things like there was something else on my mind, but essentially, yeah, there is additional costs in Python because Python is such a high level language. It does like dynamic variables even, and so forth, and like it does any type of supports any type of variable. And there's so much other things you can do. You can do a lot more research into it. I'm definitely not an expert in that field, but it's just a general idea. Is essentially the more abstraction you have, there's cost to that level of abstraction, and that's generally what's causing something like that. But yeah, Java is a pretty good language. I would say C and C++ are pretty good as well because C and C++ are really similar to Java in terms of syntax. And if you master memory management, you can always go back to Java. It's easier to switch from C++ to Java. I want to make sure I don't miss something. Yeah, if we ever, for game development, I will do a 3 or 4 part track where we learn Python and then we write a game with it, and then maybe try to develop a Django application. No promises. That's just a thought. If I have the time for it, that is my goal, is to produce a more multi-track series for Global Hack Week in Python. I don't know about that. Again, it's like what type of IDs, right? Different languages have different levels of bloat, and how efficiently they handle things also matter. Python lacks efficiency in some sort of handling. So it's not even just how high up, how low it is. It's essentially the amount of bloat that's built in, where the amount of abstraction and efficiently how those abstraction are done as well affects the language's efficiency. And general rule of thumb is the higher level a language is, the more abstraction they are, and because of that, there's more cost associated with that inefficiency. How do we create a nested loop in Python? That's a great question. I will demo that actually because you asked that question. Oh, I like this. So how you create a nested loop, all you got to do, for example, if I'm doing a for loop, so in Python, the for loop, I'll do a while loop because it's more similar in other languages. But also like while test is equal to false. I wish I've gone over some stuff. If you don't know what some of this, please do ask. I'll answer. So let's say while test is doing, it's tabs, right? So tab is essentially saying anything in the first tab is inside this while loop. I can just nest another while loop. So let's say while test 2 is equal to false. So I just nested 2 while loop, and I can do like print testing. I'm not gonna run this because I don't have everything needed to run that, right? But this is a string. But that's the general structure. This is just telling me this doesn't exist, but you do thing and use tabs. And this tab will say everything in the first tab is within this while loop, is the syntax-based language. Everything in the second tab is within the second while loop, and that's how you net 2 loops in Python. That's pretty funny. But yes, any other questions I can address or help with? Yes, for sure. Any other question? I'll answer any Python question or any coding, programming, personal question, whatever. Oh, wait, linked list? That's pretty fun. I love linked lists. But JavaScript in linked list, that does not sound optimal, but I guess. Will you be doing any Linux sessions? So I've thought of sessions. If you want to talk sessions, that's so I usually do so, and I'm free, which I hope to be more free and at some point. I used to do a Unix session. I'm doing a Vim session because I just want to teach people Vim, because a lot of schools, universities, colleges, whatever you want to call it, a lot of them has a Unix-based environment that you have to use a text editor for, or command line editor instead of a graphical editor. And for those, I like to teach Vim. That's one of my favorite. It might not be the most beginner friendly one, but it is one of the more powerful one. I do generally do a Unix session where I might teach you how to navigate the Unix, nice cool shortcuts and command. We'll definitely bring those back. Yes, we'll be teaching Vim on Monday next week, same time. Monday, as in Eastern Standard Time. I think it's the 10th from 10 a.m. Yeah, we'll be teaching Vim. But I also wanted to do like there's just some things I want to do that's like in security realm that I just can't because there's a lot of implications in terms of what I'm allowed to teach on my stream as public knowledge on top of like what, because there's risk of what you will do with that knowledge, right? So I consider teaching lock picking. I got that idea got shut down. I can't teach lock picking, but one day we'll be able to teach lock picking. I started with Python as my first programming language, really. But it's a Python is definitely not a bad one to start with. Everything else is pretty all right. Yes. So in range, range essentially works like this. So range, I'll type this out for you. So range takes a start, stop, and a step. The only thing that is required is the stop generally, and it will stop before that number. So if you do a range of 10, it goes 0. It starts at 0 generally. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It'll stop at 9. If you want to set a start, you can say I want to start at 1. It'll go 1, and then it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and stop right before where your stop is. And if you want to use a step, which is like jumping, you can say I want to do step of 7 or step of 3. Go from 1 to 9. It'll go 1, 4, XYZ, and you keep counting like that. Yeah, I don't know about power user kind of Vim. I can't get too deep. I know someone who was like modding out their Vim so much, like they're getting so much plugins. They're getting Copilot defaultly built in their Vim. It's pretty cool. You can do a lot with Vim. Yeah, come out Monday, the 10th, same time. We'll be learning Vim. Cool. Take care. Have a nice day. Hope you enjoy. I started with C++ in school. That's a pretty good one to start with. It's a really versatile one, so you can hop around. How to create functions and constructors. So there's no constructors. Well, I am a liar. There is constructor if you do object-oriented programming in Python. But then we're getting through a lot more stuff. But for a function, it's a lot more easy to do. So if you want to do a function, it's called def or define, and then just the function name. And then you use here, so you put in, let's say, your variable, right? So I can do let's say name, and I can I like to do this. This is just type hinting. So I'm gonna say the name is the thing is name. The type hint. Oh, did I do this wrong? I forgot how to do type hint. I'm pretty sure this is right? Someone remember how to do type hints, but it doesn't matter. I think maybe I just didn't finish this. What is this? Did I get? Oh, is it equal? No, that's definitely not it. Is it just this? Am I like trolling? Yeah, okay. So this is type hinting. So I'm type hinting saying that name is string. This is just so it's more readable your code. You don't have to use type hinting, but essentially defining a function would just be this, be your variable, and then whatever code goes here. So hashtag code goes here. I won't get into object-oriented programming. So you're also teaching. We will if this is a longer series, but no, I'm not teaching object-oriented programming tonight. Can you explain self? Oh, self essentially it's like referencing to member variables, right? So self is essentially saying this current object. So for example, you can create this is also do with object-oriented programming. I won't go in too deep, but essentially it refers to the current object itself. The self keyword, yeah. So if you actually define an object in Python and it has member variables, you can use self to refer to its current object itself. Are you on any socials, Kev? Yes, I am. I generally do have a slide for that. Actually, I might just pull it up. But yeah, yes, no, we'll do this one day. your first programming language. Don't know. We will one day. Have a nice day. Thank you for stopping by. Love to see you more. And then I will answer this without hopefully leaking quadrillion things. So if I'll give you a sneak peek. So this is a sneak peek to what was supposed to, once this is completely done, that is. So I'm going to share my screen, and then I want to share. So this is what is supposed to happen. So once this workshop is fully ironed out, I am working on that. Is building a more multi-series version of the Python workshop. We'll have like a schedule overview and then a lot more things laid out. We'll have slides. It'll be like a mini lecture. But this is in the work because I want to build this out for a multi-track Python workshop. But this is who I am. It's my general introductory slide. Oh, that's hilarious. I just realized this question in my face is. I forgot if I take that off, you can't hear me. So I'm going to just use a different format. I'm going to use the format I had before. But yeah, so this is just some stuff about me as on the social if you want to follow. But knock yourself out if you're interested. And always feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I generally are pretty more than happy to answer them. But yeah, if this is it, I might say, well, let's conclude our amazing Python workshop for the day. And I do want to encourage everyone to stop back in 30 minutes for our check-in daily Global Hack Week stream. They're always super duper fun. But I'm going to write this message really quick. Stick around for our Global Hack Week daily stream. Is there any other questions I can address before we say have a nice day and I will see you around? Any last final questions? Going once, going twice, going a third time, sold. To our final question asker, Zal Foster, you've won the question of the day. I don't know. But yes, I do appreciate everyone for coming by, stopping by, and learning some Python. I will build this hopefully into a multi-track, and we'll break into a lot of things. Okay, good question. I am doing all right. It was 9 a.m. when I woke up and did this workshop, and then I went to bed at like 4 a.m. my time, so it was like not amazing, but we got through it. Everyone who showed up appreciate it. Got some caffeine in me, got through this workshop. And more fun workshop to come. But do stop by if you want to learn Vim, which I highly suggest, at least understanding the basic of. It's really useful. It's generally built into almost all your Unix systems. Multiple ways to answer that question. Short answer is yes. Yes, do show up. It will be super fun. I do have to put that one together, but it will be fun. Vim is always fun to learn. But with that, yes, if we get it one day, maybe, unfortunately it passed already. I was thinking of doing, I was kind of busy during time, but maybe we'll get to the point where we can either do game dev in Python, or we'll do application development, or we'll do machine learning and AI in Python. Either one of those three, and they're good for me too, because I need to brush up on my skills on those, and we can do it together live. It's super fun. My rank in Valorant, I play Valorant really occasionally because I'm pretty busy. My peak was Diamond, but I generally sit around a solid Gold and Plat. But because most of my friends and stuff are in Silver, I generally, because I rarely play anyways, my rank will reset, and I just generally stick near the Silver to Gold border. That is my rank in Valorant. Good question. What is your rank in Valorant? I'm just kidding. We'll not do that today. But next time, maybe we'll do a fun. Maybe we'll do a Valorant stream. I don't know if they'll let me, but maybe we'll do a Valorant stream. Valorant 5v5. I'm a student. I am a student studying computer science. But I do a lot of teaching at the university I'm at. So I teach introductory to computer science in terms of I'm the head teaching assistant or fellow for that. And then I also teach malware analysis. Yeah, but I can't do that on stream, just given implications of stuff. one day I'll figure out one day to do some security thing on stream. I can't do lock picking. I can't teach you how to crack a Wi-Fi type of dealio. But I will figure out one thing we can do, and then maybe we'll do a CTF on stream. That's another goal of mine, is put together a Global Hack Week CTF, and then we'll run it, and then we can solve it together on stream, or something along those lines. We'll figure that out later down the line. But lots of cool things in store, as long as I have time, and then we'll do a lot of cool things. Capture the flag essentially is when I give you a puzzle of many different computer science fields, right? So different types, and then you have to try to find something, right? So for example, if you ever come to our first party hackathons, which we hold every weekend, we do the sneak capture the flag, where you have to figure out a flaw in the code and then get a flag from it. There's a lot of different ones, right? So I can hide flags in, let's say, pictures. I can hide flag in code. I can hide flag in a program that you have to like reverse engineer and figure out how to get it, etc. It's a pretty fun activity. If you haven't done one, I highly recommend. It's a pretty fun one. It's definitely not for everyone, but it's a nice thing to at least try because it's pretty fun. Cool. I'll officially close out the stream, and we'll take more fun questions with chat next time. But yes, I do hope everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy, and do stick around for Global Hack Week's daily stream at 12 p.m. If you're wondering who are you guys going to be joining today, you're going to be joined by Paul. And the other guests, I'll keep a mystery, so there's some suspense. But yes, make sure to get some rest and take care. Stick around for Global Hack Week. Take care, guys. Bye.